What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Ho to Husband Podcast. I'm your host, Terry Duran. I got both of my co-hosts on the line with me tonight. I got my man, Jay Bible in the building. What's up with you?
What's going on, fellas? Looking forward to another great episode today. But want a quick reminder, you can catch us on TikTok as well. Subscribe to us on YouTube at Ho to Husband Podcast. And for those interested in promos, shout out, shoot us a DM out on IG at Ho to Husband Podcast, or you can email us at hotohusbandpodcast@gmail.com. All right, T.
We got my man SD in the building. What's up, man?
Nothing, man. I'm excited about these here topics that we got on in line for tonight.
Yes,
But first, let me give a shout out to Brother Soul Productions for always keeping the background audio fresh. And I want to remind you all to donate to the Ho to Husband Podcast on Cash App and PayPal. All right, T.
I want to remind everybody that y'all can catch the audio playback of the podcast every Monday afternoon at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time on the core94.com. Tonight's episode is titled Fear of Missing Out. And we're going to be having a real candid discussion about why men and women aren't fully committing to relationships these days. But y'all know how we do around here, man. We like to discuss stuff that we've seen trending on our timelines. So this week we actually have three trending topics that we're going to be discussing. This first one is a video clip on Cam Newton's podcast with Ace Metaphor. Let's take a look.
A lot of heterosexual men don't like women for real. They don't. They like women sexually, but they don't like women. They're not attracted to what a woman is outside of her sexual organs. So then when we get into why a lot of men womanize, or why it's just they're minimizing a woman based off of who she slept with or who she potentially can sleep for, because it's like you haven't gained the appreciation of the wholeness of a woman yet, and what that wholeness of a woman can bring to your life. A lot of times we'll talk about strength and we'll say men are stronger than women, but that's because we value physical strength. We're not talking about emotional strength, spiritual strength. We're not talking about the type of strength that can run a household. And we're not putting that same type of weight. And what I would encourage, and this was the shift that I had to do, is I had to start liking the wholeness of a woman outside of sex. And then when you do that, now you appreciate the things a complete woman can bring to your life.
All right, now, to me, this is an example of a black belt level panderer seeking topics and never having to elaborate or actually discuss anything. Because he started off with like a headline type of statement. Heterosexual men don't like women. And then he started talking about two or three other topics that were not providing any additional information or insight into the topic that he started off with. So I'd like to start with, okay, heterosexual men don't like women. What does that mean?
I don't know, man.
There are a lot of things that women think and do that are illogical, irrational, and are counterproductive to the things that men actually are trying to accomplish. So there are a lot of women that are only physically attractive to men. I would say that's more a result of the attitudes and the behaviors and the values that a lot of these women have. So to me, it was like he was on the podcast kind of pandering, trying to find a way to make men the problem, when if you're a woman and men only see you as somebody that they would have sex with, that is because your personality and your attitude is trash.
Yeah, man, I made a comment on it because, this is the type of stuff that just, for me, it just be like, come on, man. Because it's such a blanket statement, right?
Right.
With no real examples behind it. And what it does is it gives women the avenue to insinuate that men are gay. That's really what it does, by saying men don't really like women for real outside of this. And then if you look in the comments, that's because they like their homeboys. That's because they really DL. That's because they like men. When in actuality, there was no substance behind what he said. And
Nothing.
There are things that men and women don't like about each other. We don't like everything about women, and women don't like everything about men when it comes to how we think, how we maneuver, how we do things, how we handle business. Whatever the case, that's natural for anyone.
Thanks.
And to go out into the podcast world in front of so many people, knowing how words affect us personally, especially women, it plays right into the hand of telling them what they want to hear. Because earlier in the week, when they dropped the same clip that talked about women cheating, nurses cheating. I don't know if y'all saw that. That was Cam and that was Ace. Same thing with nurses cheating. Oh, now they wanted to put tariffs on podcast equipment, take the podcast equipment away.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
They don't want to talk about it because he was like, yo, these nurses be cheating. These here flight attendants be cheating. They were saying this and stuff. Now the women don't want to talk about it. So, you know, to me, it's just one of those things, man, that's dangerous to put out there because it makes men seem like they gay because they don't like every single thing about a woman.
Right. I mean, like you said, this is pandering, and he knows this. He knows he's gonna get his Yas Queen moment. You know, like you said, this isn't rooted in any sort of substance, right? This is for, strictly for clicks and views here. You know, because I'm like, okay, if heterosexual men don't like women, that would imply that he's gay, right?
Of course,
like
it
these say,
right?
So it's like, so that statement alone is contradictory here.
And it reflects what we see in the comments. Anything that you say that is not praising women or giving props to women or blaming men for the relationship problems is met with some type of response that either tries to discredit you or make it seem like you undesirable or gay. And so it's annoying because people like Ace are the ones that get the biggest platforms and are able to monetize the most, but it's mostly because he puts out a fluffy message that blames men for any problems, or like you said, gives women an avenue to be able to criticize men, when the reality is he's not. Ladies, the way that you can tell if somebody is giving you genuine advice or really speaking from, about real life, is they'll be able to provide real life examples and situations that you see in your life and the people around you. You know what I mean? And they will always be able to go in depth and elaborate if they're talking about something that has any real substance to it. So that's one of the issues that I've always had with Ace and his whole platform is he's perfected how to kind of highlight and make men to blame.
I mean, it sells card games and sells out shows here.
Facts. All right, let's keep these rolling, man. This next video, I'm not sure what podcast this was from, but it was a question where it was asking a woman, would she have given her man a chance if he was not as in the successful position that he was and they met? Let's take a look.
Would you have given him a chance if he was parking cars?
No.
She shouldn't have. I personally would not have gone after my wife being a leading actress when I was valet parking cars. And I get flack for saying that. It's not about the money. It's about my confidence and emotional maturity and vulnerability to be able to feel good enough about myself to fill my cup up first before I can pour into her. So I'm not going to come to you when I'm standing there and I'm making $13 an hour because right now at this point, my mindset is not right for where your life is right now.
My question to you, KJ, would you have given him a chance if he was parking cars?
No.
KJ, why not?
Him meeting me when he was parking cars would be like me meeting someone when I was doing background. I was not mentally mature. I was super immature. I was tired all the time. I didn't have the mental capacity to have a normal conversation without thinking about my survival. What do you do? Where are you from? How much money you got? It wasn't organic or authentic because I wasn't in the space. And women, they don't want to talk about that, but I will. I wanted a provider. I wanted someone who wasn't pulling me down. I was already down. I didn't want to go no lower. Where we going to hell? I loved him. He was fine though.
Now, it's interesting to see that they both share that perspective. To me, that's a red flag to kind of hear that, because to me that means that the relationship wasn't sparked with genuine interest from her part. Because like we said multiple times, the conversations and the interactions that you have with the person, obviously there has to be the physical attraction, but that's all it takes to actually spark a genuine interest, especially if y'all both broke. You know what I'm saying? Like now for his situation, I can't speak to being a broke dude trying to holler at a Hollywood actress or somebody that's on a TV show. I can understand lacking confidence and all that. But to me, if a woman wouldn't be interested in you if you didn't have success, that's a key indication she's not really into you.
I don't necessarily agree all that much
Why is
With
that?
him or me?
with you. Because, and I say that because, it all depends, in my opinion, on her age. Like, if she's 35, 40 years old, she's supposed to want a dude that's stable and has something going for himself. So, a guy that's parking cars with nothing else going on is somebody that a woman, in my opinion, at that age should get into a serious relationship with, because he's not on the trajectory going anywhere. But if this dude is parking cars because he's in school to be a doctor, or he's in school to be a lawyer, and he's actually in school, like in college or whatever, and she's 25, I'd say, man, that's where you should be. Like, you shouldn't drop a dude because of that. You know what I'm saying? But I wouldn't expect a 40-year-old woman, a 35-year-old grown woman that has her life together also, which she sounded like she had some together, to get with a guy that has nothing going on except parking cars and no other plans in place to boost up his income like that. So I don't necessarily agree that it don't mean that it's not genuine, because she wants a man that can provide something and be a provider. I don't think that.
Well, I'll elaborate. Go ahead, Jay.
No, I mean, it's a valid point what you're making, SD. I see what you're saying. Like, what is his trajectory? If he's a career, parking attendant here, that wouldn't be practical for somebody who's 35 and up, right? But like you said, if he's 25, he's just doing to get through college, take his girlfriend out for dinner or something. Yeah, that's different there. But even, let's just say it could be he's doing it on the side aside from his regular 9 to 5. There's also that as well.
Well, I guess kind of how it was presented in the clip, it was kind of like a hypothetical where they kind of both went to a what if we had met in this scenario. So in the scenario where he's parking cars or he's on his path to try to get to where he's a provider and she's a broke, struggling actress, then to me, a woman disqualifying a guy that's on your level is, I always, like you said, if he's on the path or he's doing things to put himself in a position to be able to have higher income in the future, then a woman disqualifying him because she's on level 1, 2, to me, that's bad decision making. And I think a lot of women do that because if you on level 1 and you get with the level 1, then y'all can go to level 2 and 3 and 4 together. That's what actually building with someone is. But obviously, a lot of women don't see it that way.
I agree with that. Like, y'all both at the bottom right now. This is actually when women have their greatest chance of getting a provider man, when they are at the bottom with him. And by the bottom, I mean like y'all both in college. That's what other cultures do. White girls do ring by spring, where they get in college and they want a dude in college, and then they get married where they don't really have a lot. They're both at the bottom, and then they build together. It's completely, hold on real quick. It's completely backwards for them to get out of college, get to level 3, and then don't want a dude that's on level 3. They want a dude that's on, they only want a guy that's on level 4 or 5, but the guy on 4 or 5 has plenty of options at that level. And typically he don't care about you being at a level 3. So it decreases the woman's chances tremendously when they wait later like that. So in that instance, I do agree with you, as long as he's on the move somewhere when they're both at the bottom, that the women should also get with those dudes like the other cultures do. Jay, go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right about that. Like you said, that's what you're building towards something. Yeah. Not that you're not getting the finished product. Especially like right out of college, you're both working entry level jobs, making 30,000, 40,000 a year here.
That's what it takes.
Here's what it is.
Yeah, like I said, that to me, that's what shooting in the gym means. Building, being able to be there when y'all are struggling. When I think I guess anybody that's come from the struggle knows it actually builds character. It actually puts y'all in a position where y'all's value systems are aligned. One of the reasons me and my wife ain't materialistic is because we struggled through the robbing Peter to pay Paul, not having car insurance, you know what I'm saying? Like we made
Right.
those struggles early on in the marriage to where now that we comfortable, we still don't place an enormous amount of value on other stuff like that. So
But-
I think that it's very beneficial long term.
But I think for y'all, right, it makes y'all appreciate everything so much more what you have now, because both of y'all have, been through the struggle and y'all did it together here.
Right. I agree. You know, I think that's one of the benefits of starting at level 1 together and working your way up. I think it makes you appreciate one another more and the journey itself. Let's keep things rolling, man. This last post is by a lady, I believe her name is Ebony Mumford, where she's talking about a lot of the reasons women will be disqualified from the high quality men that they seek to be with. Let's take a look.
So I know this conversation is trite, but here's my 2 cents anyway. Single mothers will absolutely be disqualified to a degree in the dating market simply because they have kids. It's a fact. Get over it. It's nothing but a preference. If you are overweight, you will be disqualified by the men who do not prefer women who are overweight, not by every man on earth. Then you have the women that say, well, I've never been disqualified or rejected because I have kids. How do you know, ma'am? How do you know you wasn't in the store, but your child was in another aisle? A man saw you, was getting ready to say something, but that child came and joined you, and that man laid back and said, oh, shoot, she got a child. And he never came and said nothing to you. How do you report on an experience that you don't even realize you had? What about, it don't take but 10 or 15 minutes into a phone call to find out you got a child? That relationship eventually don't work out. How do you know it didn't work out? In part because you have a child, you don't. But I can tell you one thing, you have absolutely been disqualified at some point in your dating life because you have kids, and that's fine. Single mothers ain't for everybody. That's fine.
That's common sense though, right?
Sense.
We all understand, especially guys. There are things about that you bring to the table that are either going to increase or decrease your desirability of the opposite sex. And so if you are a single mother, a single mother has a drastically different lifestyle than a single father in most instances, because most of the time the child lives with the mom. So that means it's a 24/7, 365 responsibility for the most part, that especially if the dad ain't involved. And it is the financial burden and the mental stress that he's going to have to deal with. Because when you dating a woman, you gotta listen to her problems. You gotta listen to her complain about the things that she's unhappy about. Like that, those are kind of the baggage that come with dating for a lot of guys, and especially when you're talking multiple kids, you exponentially become less desirable to guys overall. So to me, I just feel like that it's tough, a reality check, but it's really just common sense.
Yeah, I mean, for men, it's a lot of responsibility that these here women get up in their feelings about that I don't really think they think about. You alluded to the financial part of it. Well, it's different for men than it is for women, because men are expected to come in and still provide for this kid that's not his at all. You know what I'm saying? Women aren't expected to come into a household with a dude that has a kid and provide anything. They're just like outside of maybe motherly things, care.
Yeah, don't treat the kid messed up.
But as far as financial burden, that falls again on the man, regardless of what goes on. If that child is in his house, you got the financial burden right there. Next, if a guy goes into a situation with the woman that has a kid, he's also expected to treat this kid like his own if it comes to life or death. If something happens and he has to risk his life for that child, he better do it or that woman is gone. I can guarantee it. Ain't no way around it. So he's expected to have that protection factor, which also could cost him his life. Whereas women aren't necessarily thought of in that realm of things. So yes, it knocks them down more, especially for guys that don't have kids. And then the overweight thing, like this is not rocket science. Most men do not like women that are very overweight or obese, unless they are shaped really, really nice and they are taller and more thicker. Cool. But when we talk about overweight and obese, which is 70% of the women here in America, most men don't find that attractive. If we did, there'd be BBW strip clubs all over the place. Where you
if
had
that was true, they wouldn't be able to get BBLs.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying though.
Exactly.
You'd have to be 300 pounds to work at the strip club. I don't know where these strip clubs are at, and these women wouldn't be wearing waist trainers. They wouldn't be getting BBLs like Terry said. They wouldn't be slimming themselves down with filters. They wouldn't take face-only selfies on their picture. If all these here men really wanted overweight women, and then they'll say, last point, then they'll say, I never had a problem getting men. Yeah, what woman have problem getting dick? None of them. I don't care if you overweight, if you ugly, if you facially challenged, if you got 10 kids, your problem isn't getting dick. Your problem is getting a ring. So that's where the men differentiate things at. Yeah, and it's only true. And don't get it twisted though. Men have problems too out here in the dating world where things disqualify them, as she mentioned. Height.
No question.
Yeah, height, weight, and sometimes kids too will disqualify men. So it's not just one-sided, but men can take the criticism and the reality of the world better than women can.
Absolutely. I mean, what she was talking about, hey, listen, men have preferences, and there are certain things that might disqualify you from certain men, and that's just what it is, right, wrong, or indifferent here. Like you said, and y'all should have seen the comments. I remember when she posted it, looking at the comments. Oh, some men don't have problems with single mothers. I can get a man just fine. I know you don't. Or some men, don't mind BB. You've seen all these things in the comments where women were really triggered by this. But women have all these preferences. He's got to be 6'8". Built like Michael B. Jordan, and all this stuff here. But as soon as she said, men's preferences, women get upset by it. It's just like we're allowed to have preferences. Everybody has a preference, and it's just what it is.
Yeah, it's always getting that reaction. Any post that mentions men that don't like a certain type of woman, there's always going to be a negative backlash from it. So that's not a thing that you should be talking about if you're trying to be popular, or if you can't deal with the backlash. That's the problem with this whole space that we're in, where we're battling the pandering culture, because we actually keep it real. We talk about how real husbands think and how husband material men think and operate. That conflicts with a lot of the delusion that's out there and the pandering that's fed to them. As far as disqualifying women, that's what a market is. The market means that the environment is going to kind of level itself out. And so there's always going to be a hierarchy or a totem pole as far as guys. Among the high school, among college, the guys that have the success and are able to attract the women, whatever, different guys are dealt different hands. Some dude's parents got bread and he's in college wearing all the Tommy Hilfiger and a new this and a new that. You know what I mean? Some dudes got to get it out the mud. They got to be able to make the chicks laugh. So you as a man, you have to figure out what your formula is to have. You don't got to be 100%. Nobody's 100%, but you want to be at least 10 to 20% of the women you shoot your shot at. You want to be able to have some type of success with.
But see, that's why I believe that those are the reasons why we take that type of criticism better, because we understand hierarchy. I saw this before somewhere, I can't remember, but that's why men choose like sports a little more, right? Where we know who the top dog is football wise. We know who's strongest. We know who's the best basketball player. We choose these here sports right here where it's a hierarchy, right? Whereas women go play hopscotch. They go play double dutch. You know what I'm saying? A lot more women do that stuff where ain't no real hierarchy. It's double dutch. Like, who cares about it? You know what I'm saying? Play with doll houses and all that type of stuff. Like, there's no separation of talent. There's no separation of skill. So women think that everything should be fair for everybody. And there shouldn't be a disadvantage. There's no disadvantage to it. Everything should be right. No, and men know that there's disadvantages out here because we have grown up seeing that our entire lives. So it's the reality for us.
All right, looks like we up against the clock. We about to take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna be getting into tonight's topic, fear of missing out, where we're talking about why people are so reluctant to fully commit to dating and relationships these days. You are tuned into the Ho to Husband podcast. We'll be back in a moment.
Hi,
I'm relationship coach and author Terry Duran, and I am pleased to announce that my book, It's Not That Complicated, is finally available as an audiobook. So if you don't like to read, or you just don't have time to read a paperback book, this audiobook is perfect for you. You can listen to it while you're in your car, while you're at work, etc. In the book, I break down how husband material men think and operate in regards to sex, love, and relationships, and I provide real quality insight on how husband material men approach dating. The audiobook is available on audible.com and on iTunes. All you have to do is go to one of the websites and search for my name, Terry Duran. Go download your copy today. All right, everybody, welcome back to the How to Husband podcast. Tonight's episode is titled Fear of Missing Out. And we're just going to be having a discussion about why people are so reluctant to fully commit to dating situations or relationships. And I think a large part of that has to do with social media, because you see so many people, you have access to so many people, that there's always this underlying thought of, well, if I commit to you, then I'm not going to be available to meet somebody that's a better option or a better fit. And so I think that causes a lot of people to eliminate people or give up on dating situations that could have been very sustainable and could possibly have led to marriage. So I guess that's viewed as settling by this generation, but I think it's doing a disservice to everybody ultimately.
Yeah, I think they crazy. Like, because when you actually know, like when you actually have options, or the illusion, or you know that they not real options. Like telling me that you go suck my back end and you live in Guatemala somewhere. That's not a real option. I hear you. Yeah, you fine, but that's not a real option telling me you gonna ride me to the sunset and you live in Arizona. Like, that's not a real option in most cases. You got to put in so much work to get these here people on Instagram. Like, I think it's a illusion of options. It's just in our own mind because of the influx of attention that people get. And most men don't get that. Women get it way more than men. Most men don't, unless they kind of popular on social media or some type of athlete or something like that. But most men ain't getting this huge influx of attention and thinking they got all these options. It just don't work like that.
Well, I think, like I said, I think it's warped a lot of these women's perspective on what options are, right? Because they have a bunch of dudes, a ton of dudes in their DMs. They're getting 20 DMs, text messages, good morning, beautiful, dudes offering to fly them out. And whether, they're attractive or not, I guess, beauty's relative here. It's in the eye of the beholder. But they think those are options as opposed to, the men that, actually want them and actually want a relationship with them. So I think that's where, perspective is kind of skewed at best here.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys can have it skewed too, because even if they're having success with women, they could be dating a chick that is, has the essential criteria to be a good mother and a good wife, and they'll view her as not being good enough because of the chicks that he see on his timeline that she's not as cute as, because he's comparing her sexual attractiveness to the BBL chick that he's thirsting over. So I guess that's kind of what I mean. I guess from a male standpoint, it's the abundance of the BBL and the fine women on his timeline compared to what he's seeing or smashing in real life. I can see how that impacts a lot of guys to feel like that she's not good enough, even though in reality he ain't got that option.
I've never even thought about that. Like, I'm just sitting here thinking about it. Like, I've never talked to a chick and been like, you know what? I got better chicks on my timeline that I don't know. I have no clue.
Well, you got to disqualify yourself. You sleep with attractive women in real life, so you not a dude that's just thirsting. Like, if somebody saw SD in Chicago with a baddie, they not gonna be like, oh man, homeboy got somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like they not gonna be shocked or surprised by that.
Right.
But a dude that's only smashing 4s and 5s, but feels like he can pull a 7 or an 8, is never gonna really commit to shorty.
These dudes don't be feeling like that, Terry. They don't feel like that, man. Ain't no way. Terry, they're barely smashing the 4s. There's no way they like, yo, unless they got a lot of money, which most men don't. So if they don't have a lot of money, there is no way they realistically think that they have a chance with shorty. None. To where they pass up on this 4 or 5 over here to have a chance to get a high from a chick that's an 8, because you ain't getting nothing else. They've never
so you
got that.
This is more a scenario that applies to women, where women are viewing men that just want to view them sexually, that they're viewing him as somebody that actually want to be her baby daddy.
Right, because men have to again live in the real world when it comes to dating. So if you're a guy that's not that attractive, you're not that tall, you kind of out of shape, you don't look that good, you don't have a lot of money like most men don't, reality has showed you your entire life that a 8, 9, and 10, 7 is not in your ballpark, bro. No matter what you do, you ain't had one yet 9 times out of 10. So you are not going to pass up a 4 when most men ain't getting no sex out here. A woman that's willing to kick it with them, that's a good chick, that's a 4. Most dudes ain't passing up on that. They wish they had it. That's why you got incels out
That's
here.
crazy.
Where they're involuntarily celibate, Terry. So they not getting no women. You telling me that these dudes that ain't getting no women will get a 4, right? A nice 4 that treat them well, whatever, and then don't want to commit to her because they could possibly get an 8 when they've never had one? Absolutely not. But for women have the opportunity to sleep with dudes that are 8s, 7s, 9s.
Well, the reason I say that, like I've seen like unattractive dudes like on Kendra's show, where they talk about these standards that they have for chicks, and it's like, bro, you not living in reality, dog. Like you're not in a position to dictate or have your standards set up like that based off what you bring into the table. And so I guess maybe
it depends on their money though. It depends on their money. I don't know the money situation.
Sure.
But for guys, this is the thing. For guys, it depends on the money, right? On social media, we can say, bro, look at you. But if he got a nice bank account, we know that he can get dimes. We see it every day with these here dudes that have money, that have decent finances. But for women, we look at them and be like, oh, no, you ain't getting no dude that make that. Look at you, because it goes mostly off their looks. So women can be a lot more delusional than men out here, thinking the options are there because they can still sleep with the dudes that are out of their league. They got more dick options. They have more dick options, absolutely, because that's what dudes do. So that creates a delusion in the mind of women when they can sleep with those types of dudes, but then when they get out here and start dating, they don't understand it. Like, wait a minute. No, I only want this type of dude that makes this because they slept with him before, but they can't figure out why he won't commit to them. It's because you really aren't on his level. He just needed a nut.
That's a tough reality check. Man, it's so interesting though, because it's like when you see stuff like Pop the Balloon, and you see why. It could be, when they do an introduction, the dude's an entrepreneur, the dude, the dude work here, he do this, well put together dude, and they'll pop the balloon over something silly like his haircut, or something that could easily be changed or altered. And so it's like, like out of all the positive characteristics this dude had, do you really think you got several other options that are more qualified than that? Like, come on, man.
The one chick popped the dude because she could see his ankles. I don't like the fact that I can see his pants a little too high. And
so get him some different pants. Like,
he can change his outfit. Like, that's something he has control over.
See, that's the younger that women are, that's something that they're just gonna do. Like, that's just
true.
Yeah, like we see that all the time, so that's not surprising. I mean, it is what it is. People like what they like, but as Black people, we really don't have the luxury to be dismissing people that way over things that can easily be changed, like an outfit or something like that. Like, I mean, especially the women, especially the women. So I think people need to be more realistic with how they choose people personally, me included.
All right, I wanted to bring this up with y'all. I know me personally and a lot of my guy friends that I talk to. It seems like our memories, like from our childhood, and when it comes to dating and women, we remember more about the chicks that we missed out on or almost smashed a lot of times than chicks that we actually smashed in the past. And so it made me think about this kind of the fear of missing out. Like, damn, man, I wish I think about missed opportunities in my past a lot. Like damn, man, I wish I would have started eating pussy in high school. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, boy.
Yeah, menace.
This dude. Good grief. That's what you're thinking about?
But missed opportunities, like, different thoughts on stuff. Like, damn, man, if I would have had much more success if I would have made these changes or did these things different. Do y'all think women feel that way or have those same kind of experiences?
I think some, not all, but I think there are some that do, when they look back on a certain situation, maybe they missed out. Damn, this could have been my husband, or this could have gone into something. I think some
only if he's successful. You gotta be,
yeah,
you gotta see it.
Right, exactly.
No, I think women do it more than we want to admit, and let me tell you where women do it at.
Okay,
sexually. Sexually. I have said this on plenty of my lives and different things that women are still single women are still searching from dick that they had 15, 20 years ago. They are comparing. I got the survey. I can't find it. I was just trying to find it. Well, I asked the women, I said, hey, when you have sex with a dude that's not the best you've ever had, do you think about the best you've ever had? Like 75, 80% said, yes, I do. Like, this is why women can look at a dude's dick and say, no, that's too short. That's not wide enough. That's not this. How do you know? And I even asked them, I said, how do you know what if it will satisfy you or not without even trying it? How do you know? Past experience, toys, or talking to your friends? 90-some% said past experience. So guess what? They are comparing at all times when you are dealing with a woman. I guarantee it.
So you think those women will pass up on being with a dude just because he can't slang it as good as they ex?
What do you, Terry? You know women. Come on, man. Answer this question. You answer the question. In most cases, you know good well that a lot of them will. We've heard it all the time, right? Where they have been imprinted by another man. They done made to feel how they never felt before. And now a dude show up with 3-4 inches. And she done had a dude moving kidneys around. And now he show up with 3-4 inches on her. And she like, it ain't working. Like, most women ain't gonna move like that for a dude. So yes, they are comparing. For men, if a man has been in his whole phase like that, I don't necessarily know that he does that. Yeah, he likes some head, but I can't really tell you who gave me the best head or gave me the best. I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? I ain't really, because maybe because I was always used to protection. So you know what I'm saying? That type of thing, it don't really register in my mind that way. And I don't know if most men like that, but when we move around like that, we don't really keep score like that. We're not being imprinted the way that women are being imprinted, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally, that they get imprinted, man, by a man when they get their back blown out like that. And that's scientifically proven by the professionals also about how it affects a woman's mind. That's why they have more sexual regret.
Stigmatized.
Yeah, that's why it's a thing. Like they have more sexual regret than men. That's why they subtract numbers and men add numbers. Like, it is what it is. So yes, they compare.
Oh no, they do. I agree.
Absolutely, man. That's just what it is. So, You know,
Well,
I think that all relationships do that. So is it sustainable? It's sustainable if you measure up to what they comparing you to.
or you realistic, you know what I'm saying? Like, there are certain things that would be a bonus to have, but are not an absolute necessity. And I guess that's always kind of been the theme, like to try to get people to take a 70% is passing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to have somebody that has every single thing that you absolutely desire, because people are going to change as they age, and different things happen, children, etc. And it's okay to be attracted to multiple things. So you're always going to see other people that you find attractive. So those thoughts and those fantasies are always going to be generated by something that looks different than the person that you with. And so as long as you can control, and you don't go crazy, and you can't handle the impulses, you should be fine. You can role play, you can do things like that, right? At least that's what it's going to take to have some of these relationships goals that y'all are talking about.
But you just hit on a point here, right? You're not going to have 100% of everything, 70%. And I think this is where women kind of go wrong, when it comes to, evaluating a person of a relationship, right? We're not going to come with everything, right? Even like when we're judging women, we know that woman is not going to have everything. But I think a lot of times women think they can just have it all. If he's missing one thing, they use that to disqualify the guy, as opposed to, the 9 other things that are good about him. Like as we just said earlier with Pop the Balloon here.
Yeah, that stuff don't matter, man. I mean, you get that even in relationships, dude. You could do 95% of things right, but as soon as you do that little 5% wrong, all of that 95 that you did right is gone, dude. It is out of the mind. They ain't even thinking about it. So look, I found a couple of them. So let's say, ladies, have you ever seen or felt the man's dick and knew that it wouldn't satisfy you? 75% said yes. I said, how do you know what size you prefer and what will satisfy you? Past experience, talking to friends, or toys that you use. 96% say a past experience. So you're being compared when you get into these here different relationships. So the only way, in my opinion, that it can be sustained is when you measure up to what she's had. Like I said, a guy might get some bad head or something like that, but in his mind, he's not thinking about, Sharon that did it 10 years ago. He's just like, man, that's too much teeth. Like, I don't like teeth. Like, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But I think women they definitely think about the dude that blew their back out. That's just, how it goes, in my opinion.
I see, but for women, to me, that line of thinking or that philosophy puts them in such a bad position, because they end up in situationships and having babies by dudes that don't qualify for nothing else, but he got a big dick, or he's know how to slang some pipe. Right. Like that's kind of the flip side of actually looking for a husband material man. Like you want that in a man, but that is not the equivalent to having those characteristics.
Yes, listen to this. I just screen recorded before we got on here. A young lady that was in court on maybe Judge Judy or something, suing a dude because she bought a ring and he convinced her to buy a ring. He said he's gonna give it to his mom. He proposed to another chick with the ring. It was her boyfriend. It was her boyfriend. She was so gone in the mind. She bought this other chick an engagement ring, and I don't know what she thought, gave him her car because his car got repossessed. But this is what that stigmatization will do.
Yeah, damn.
And this is what happens. And again, they will go out here and pass up on a great dude who would never do nothing like that because he's coming up short, because he don't compare to the dude that had her digmatized. Typically, if a dude gonna get you digmatized, he's a hoe. He out here.
He learned how to do it. Yeah,
of course, he's doing his thing. Like, that's just what it is. Unless he may be a little older, but that's just what happens, man. So, hey, it is what it is.
Oh man, this is funny, man. It's to hear about all the reasons that women curve guys and disqualify guys. It's sad. it makes you like, damn, man. Even if one of these women did meet a husband material man, it's almost a guarantee that she's gonna cut him off, or she's going to start to operate in a way that he's gonna eventually cut her off.
Yep.
So sad to see, y'all.
Most of them, that's what happens.
All right, y'all. Looks like we up against the clock. We about to get up out of here. Before we go, I want to give another shout out to my man, Brother Soul Productions, for keeping us laced with our background music. I want to remind y'all to continue supporting the podcast through our Cash App and our PayPal. JS Demon, I appreciate y'all linking up so we can get this episode knocked out. This has been another episode of the Hold a Husband Podcast, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.